I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority on October 5th, 2020 at 6:15. Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Here.
Bond.
Here.
Dilbeck. Ahern.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
White.
Here.
Morrill. Wines. Streller.
Here. I do declare a quorum. This evening, the invocation will be by Brian Ahern.
Hey, thank you, guys. Let's pray together. Father, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunity, and even its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, and for each day's duties, and for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us tonight during our council meeting. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Item number 1 is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes. Thank you, council, our authority members. Item number 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the PMA this evening. Hearing none, we will move to item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Item 6, any new business that needs to come before the PMA this evening? Hearing none. Item 7, motion on the adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Coldarn. Oh, you can give it to White.
Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to call order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry, October 5th, 2020 at 6:17. Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Here.
Bond.
Here.
Dilbeck. Ahern.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
White.
Here.
Morrill. Wines. Streller.
Here. I do declare a quorum. Item number 1 is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve items A through C in the consent agenda. Second.
Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the city agenda. Hearing none, we'll move to item 5, proclamations, commendations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Hearing none of those either, we will move to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Every year or two, our electric provider, OMPA, conducts a survey of our customers. This legitimate survey is being conducted by Great Blue Research. They have a phone number I'd like to give, and even though that's something we don't normally do, I think it's important that our customers know this phone number. The phone number is 860-430-5379. Let me repeat that one more time. The phone number for our survey firm would be 860-430-5379. Great Blue Research will call only between 2 and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. This survey period should last 1 to 2 weeks. It depends on how soon folks respond and how soon they get the required number of responses. So we encourage our customers to answer the call from Great Blue Research and help us out with some positive comments. Also coming this weekend is BMAC's next tournament. It's a one-day, Sunday-only tournament. It's shaping up to be a very nice tournament. So is the weather. It seems like it's going to help out as well. Currently, we have 19 teams signed up. The brackets age 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under are all full with teams from Kansas, Oklahoma City, Enid, and Tulsa areas. As many of you have already noticed, the old Sonic has closed and staff has been moving their equipment from the old location down to the new Sonic at 8th and Fur. The new Sonic should be opening Saturday, October 17th. And with that, one of our consternations has been that we have not been really able to find a contact with the Sonic Corporation who could talk to us about what they plan to do with that location. Today, I was able to find someone who provided a path to us so that we can try to just find out what they would like to do with that location. It's been very frustrating. We can't find anybody to talk to. We call, they won't transfer us. It's just been frustrating, as I can say. The valve assembly for the water treatment plant project is scheduled to arrive October 16th. It's 1 week past the original deadline. And COVID has done us no favors in getting parts that have been needed to get this project up and running. So finally, we're finally getting the parts in that we need. And right now, Mayor, that's all I have. Council, any questions you might have? Thank you, Mayor.
Larry, could you briefly touch on the bathroom situation at Leo Park? I saw that that's nearly completed.
Yes, sir, it is. Our staff has done that all in-house. We appreciate the Malzahn Foundation helping us with some of that. That's the part of their March 2020 grant agreement that we made between the city and the Malzahn Foundation. I believe it's complete or real close to complete. We painted inside. Fixtures have been ordered, and I think they've been added last week. It's going to be very nice for our residents and for the visitors to Leo Park.
The pictures
thank
look really
Thanks
good in the
to
messenger.
our crew for doing a great job. It's been electric, plumbing, water, and streets and parks. It's been a collaborative effort between all of our departments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
The pictures look good. Tell everybody thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We will now move on. If no one has any questions for Larry.
Ben.
Item number 7. Hey, Larry, mute yourself. Someone mute Larry. He's talking over me. Item number 7, consider discussion of the downtown parking study. Is Noel, or is she? I don't know who's on. Noel or Connie, are you with us?
We're both on here.
Okay, I couldn't see you. I'm going to turn this over to you just briefly. Most of the council, you realize that Phil Silvani and some other folks have come to us and with concerns of parking on the square. They're concerned that people are parking on the outside of the square too much, that people can't frequent the businesses by parking, in front of the businesses, and they've been asked to start trying to maybe the business owners, employees park on the inside of the square. So graciously, Connie and Noel kind of did a little study for us. So I'll turn it over to you two, and you guys let us know what you found.
Okay, yeah, I will go ahead and start. So after one of the last council meetings, we knew that there was the topic of parking. And so Connie and I both reached out to a lot of our contacts in Main Street and Chamber World, just trying to see what their approach was to parking issues. And a lot of what we found was really not a lot of it is negative towards parking issues, because we do want people to be downtown. People parking
Sounds better.
downtown, so that we have people downtown. And so Connie and I just kind of took it upon ourselves to go around and kind of get an idea of how many people do we have in parking spaces at certain times of the day. And so we started out on August 18th, and we did it around 9 o'clock, 12:45, and 3 p.m. And then we did it 2 different other days, just to try to gauge what parking was like. We knew Fridays was a day that people said it was really full. We knew Wednesdays was a day that people had said it was really full. So we tried to just kind of pick out different days of the week. We walked around inside and outside. And what we found, we broke it up, north side, east side, south side, west side. So north would be comeback side, east would be Ace's side, south would be Thorn side, and west would be Chamber side. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, we hit about a 58% occupancy on the north side, a 20% occupancy on the east side, 20% occupancy on the south side, and 29% occupancy on the west side. So total, we only saw 34% occupancy of spaces being occupied. And that includes handicap. We did handicap separately as well. And we never really saw, I think, I'm trying to switch tabs here. At the 12:45, our total occupancy was 34%.
And Noel, I don't mean to interrupt you just a second. Is that the total of the inside and the outside combined? I'm sorry.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We did them together.
Okay.
So the total percentage of occupancy is inside of the square and outside of the square for parking. Yes. So, but the highest that we saw, I believe, I'm pulling these up real quick, was 39%. So, and Connie, you can jump in and kind of add to that if you would like.
Yeah, and I mean that's 39% is on a Friday at about 12:30. So that was kind of the busier lunch hour. But and one day on the 18th, August 18th at 12:45 was the highest occupancy for the west side. And I know that is specifically Phil and Rise and Pie's side. And so that was the busiest time over the noon hour, but we were still barely over half capacity at capacity, 50% capacity. So
We have that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Connie.
No, you're good. You're good.
We have that. We did send it to city manager. I don't know if he provided council with those numbers.
Yes,
and
we do have that chart.
Oh, okay. So we knew there was an issue with the tag agency, and we have not gone out and measured the parking with the tag agency. She does at times have people waiting, but generally they are in and out. And so if one side is full, typically when we were doing this study, the other side was not. And so we never saw a time where there was over 50% occupancy on both sides. And so that was just something that we went around and did on our own. We're hoping that the buzz with the tag agency being, it's right next door to us. We see more traffic come by our office as well, but we're hoping that if those people are out waiting, that they do walk down and try Rise and Pies or go into Phil's office or business and Thorns, and maybe they will shop more. And that's really what our approach was at this, was to see, is there room for people to come if they would like to park? And most of the times we did see that there were open spaces without having to walk a block.
Is there any questions for Noel or Connie?
Yes, I thought the point of the parking was that their parking spots right in front of their businesses were full. And I thought that is what we were trying to measure, not total parking spots.
And I do think that there is an issue with people parking in front of specifically Red Earth designs. And I think that's tenants that live up above in the building above. And I think that they kind of camp out or are taking up at least one of the parking spaces in front of Phil's shop, sometimes all day for several days in a row. And I think that that is the biggest issue. And while I think that, tenants that pay to live downtown should have parking downtown close to their building, I think it's just like a common courtesy to maybe not park in front of the businesses during business hours. And I think that that's conversations that probably need to be had with whoever is going to live and rent or reside in the downtown area.
Yeah, I believe that probably the property owners should address that, whether it be the chamber or Main Street or someone. We need to find some avenue to be in touch with the owners of those buildings. And I don't see it really being our place to tell the tenant to not park there. I mean, we could always politely, but I would rather see that the property owners try to have that discussion with their tenant than the city or one of you three
Certainly.
ladies.
Yeah, and I don't feel that it's the chamber's responsibility or Main Street responsibility either to have those conversations with those tenants.
I agree.
No, we just went around, we both were curious, and we were discussing city council after that topic had come up, and both of us just went out and started walking to count spaces, and we thought, well, let's just see what it looks like different times of the day. And so this really was just something that Connie and I did just as a joint effort on our time. It wasn't anything that we were trying to prove or take on initiative for the parking issues at all. We just wanted to provide some insight of what we see downtown on the square.
I appreciate the report. That was good insight. I do one question for Bryce or Larry or whoever. If a business is having trouble with maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 parking spots in front of their business, is that something where we'd have to give them permission if they wanted to put like a little fold out sign in front of the parking spots to say, hey, this is chamber parking only during these hours or something, and maybe take them in when they close the business for the day or something to that effect if they wanted to?
We would have to designate that. The city council would have to provide for that, and we could provide for that temporary signage. But I mean, in order to enforce a parking regulation, and that's, the enforcement part is if they don't listen, a ticket is issued. In order to do that, it would take action on the part of the city council, and then direction that that signs like that be posted, even if they were a temporary sign. You see that in front of businesses, where drive up only, at Chili's or something. Of course, there's handicap, and then they have in some places police officers only at malls, and then they have people that are driving up to pick up things only. That's on private property, but on public property, that's everybody's street until you, the city council, choose to designate it in any other way. And then, of course, there'd be the enforcement mechanism. So, I mean, we could do that. We would just need to talk about what that would look like, and then how that would be enforced.
Go ahead, Derek.
Oh no, that's what I figured where we'd go, and the hard part is, do we want officers down there spending time enforcing that?
The problem I see with that, Derek, is that let's say that you got 3 businesses, Rising Pies and Phil's and 1 or 2 of those other. I know they got that place called The Shop over there that Valerie has, and I know that Tony Wisely's building, I've been told, is in the process of selling, but they have that Companion Healthcare maybe or something's in there. I don't remember the name of the business. But so let's say that the healthcare place puts a sign out there that says parking for our business only, and Phil has 2 or 3 parking spots and his are full, and I want to go to Phil's. I can't pull up in front of Rising Pies and park. I have nowhere to park because it's not a designated Red Earth design parking spot. It belongs to somebody else. So that's the problem I have with that. I just think that people should be able to park and walk 3 or 4 doors down if they have to. And the same thing that you said, that the mechanism of enforcing it, I don't think we need a meter maid or something walking around the square taking care of that.
And that was just if they wanted to put out a, please leave this spot open for Red Earth Design or Chamber, or that may be, I was just trying to think of different options, but you're all the time, you may be hitting 3 stores anyway.
Exactly.
So you're not going to go move your car for every one of them.
And that's the whole idea, hopefully let's get the square full and you can come and park in one spot and walk all the way around the square if you wanted to.
And that's what I was going to jump in and say is that, we really don't want to discourage people from going into our merchants. We want them to park and walk by them and go into the business that they quote unquote were coming to park at. And so that's, Connie and I both, and I can't remember what the phrase was, and Connie, you may remember it, but it was, there's not necessarily a parking problem, but a conversation problem. Or do you remember what that was, Connie?
Well, it wasn't a parking problem. It was a people problem. And
Oh, yes.
where we had more people than businesses, or more people living downtown than and parking downtown now than we have in years past, or whatever the case may be. But it's just a conversation, and I think it can be a very professional, a very just polite, hey, I know that you pay to live downtown, you obviously need to park close to your building for whatever reason, but could you be mindful of the businesses that are open from early in the morning till 6 in the evening? So I think those are just conversations that need to start happening, maybe with our tenants, or the tenants with the building owners with their tenants.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure it happens, but after talking to Phil a little bit, I do know that, unless I misunderstood, there are some business owners on the square that possibly park on the square in front of other businesses. So say you have store A and they have 2 or 3 vehicles, so they move over and park in front of store B so that their parking spots are open. That could be a problem that could be addressed, but that has to, I don't think it's a mechanism that the city wants to get involved in, but it's just a respect issue, I think.
It is, and I will tell you, we went around Main Street and myself several months ago and talked to every single business owner. And I will tell you, there probably are some that are, appreciate having open parking, but there are also some that do not expect foot traffic, and they rent that building or they own that building, and they expect to be able to park where they would like to park. And so, again, I think that's just conversations that need to be had, and not necessarily city enforcement, because, again, we don't want to discourage people coming down to shop, but we also don't want to upset our business owners or people that are renting buildings downtown either, especially if we're trying to recruit businesses coming down. We don't want that to become an issue that, you can come down here, but you cannot park here. You cannot have your employees park here. And so I think those are just internal conversations that need to be had by business owners, and maybe some issues that they may have or with other business owners.
Any more questions, council?
No, the only thought I had, and again, it comes back to the enforcement and everything else that goes along with it. The only thing that sounds like it would work is some kind of like 2-hour parking limit or something like that, but during these hours. But at the same time, can we afford to have somebody down there enforcing that? At the same, that doesn't seem to work, especially within our budgetary lines these days.
Well, if there's no more questions, we'll keep this on our mind. I want to express thanks to you 2 ladies for going out and doing this for us and bringing this report to us.
Yes, thank you.
We will be willing to have a discussion with any business owner that wants to have a discussion. We'll try to get some things worked out.
Okay. You're welcome, guys. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to item number 8, consider renewal of municipal liability protection plan with the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group with total annual payment of $55,393, authorized payment to be made quarterly in the amount of $13,848.25. This is something that we do every year.
Make a motion to renew the plan and authorize quarterly payments.
Second, Marshall.
Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Coldarn,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Streller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 9, consider renewal of the municipal property protection plan with Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group with total annual payments of $87,938, authorizing payments to be made quarterly in the amount of $21,984.50. This is a protection plan for our property.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Coldarn,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White. White.
Yes.
Streller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 10, take action with respect to 1120 Delaware and 730 Holly. Council, you remember that we put these two pieces of property out for bid, and we did not receive any bids back on these two pieces of property. So the city would like to put these two properties into their inventory, which saddens me, but it is what it is, and we will figure out some other method in the very near future.
Sounds like they're going to come with a plan to us on what we'll do with all those in inventory.
Well, we hope so. We'll build some more parks, I guess. I don't know. All right. Any questions?
Mayor, if I could,
You bet.
you know what we'd like to come with a plan, but if in the meantime, we find somebody that wants to buy the lot and place a residence there, which will create a new utility account, I'd like to have the manager to have the authority to go ahead and do that. I mean, if it creates a new utility account, that he could make that deal. It could come back to you if you want. However, you know, getting a new utility account is a good thing, and you very well may want. I mean, ultimately, you'd have to approve the deal, and you may want to see the deal, or you could authorize the city manager to do that. It's the dollars are certainly within his authority as previously designated. You know, you've given him that authority of up to $15,000 to expend. So I would think that, he could make a deal and then, bring it back and you could ratify it on a consent agenda. And then if that doesn't work, we're gonna try to bring a program to you to induce folks to use these infill lots.
Do we want to make sure that our expenses are covered on these two lots as a sale price?
Well, that's the question. Some communities give away lots in order to create a new utility account, as long as it'll be viable. Some provide lots at very inexpensive prices, $1,000 or $2,000. I know one of these was $8,000. That's really the purpose of this discussion.
I personally, if we have one of these lots, I know we put it out for bid, so it's kind of a moot point. But if we have $8,000 against one of these lots and we sell it for $1,000, there's no way we will ever come out on that selling utilities.
We would eventually, but what,
In
Brian, do you
100
know how
years.
long it would take? How long would that take, Brian, Wheatley?
I don't know. That's
Why
that
would
is
you go
a
to
very
Brian
good
on that?
question. Maybe we should talk to the billing clerk on that one.
Okay. I just knew you were on here.
He
Russ
was looking at you, Derek. He's across the table from me. He's like, Brian, he
Yeah.
can't be talking about me.
Yeah. No,
I kind of assumed Ahern would answer that question.
Well, I think if I may jump in, with 730 Holly, especially, this was an old house, a two-story house, and we'd had some kids play in there. And to me, that was very dangerous. And I didn't want to have something serious really happen to anyone on that particular property. So we did take it down. If it had been in better shape, we probably would have left it up for a little bit longer. My whole approach to these things is save for the city doing something and taking some action, whether it be to make a deal is better than it staying there and we have to maintain it for the next umpteen years. I think the lot looks a whole lot better with this gone, this particular property gone, house gone, especially at 730 Holly, mainly because it is on a frequently traveled street in Perry. My approach is to talk to some of the developers who you and I may know that they are interested in infill lots, and to encourage that they take an infill lot and they build something on it. I think that this particular 730 Holly structure had to be taken down outside of house. We couldn't do that in-house. If it was a one-story, we normally take those down in-house and at considerable reduced cost than having somebody do it. But this was a two-story house and we just don't have the equipment to do that. So that's the reason why this particular house was at $8,100.
And I agree with you, Bill. I don't necessarily want to be giving lots away, but at the same time, having some income versus us mowing the lot has to be better.
Yeah, let me jump in here and give another scenario right quick, Derek. There's a lot that down on East Boundary Street that we have a $6,500 lien on. There's a gentleman that wants to buy that lot. He wants us to forgive his lien. He wants to us to forgive that lien so he can take that lot and not have to pay the $6,500. We've tried to work deals with this guy to be nice. He didn't completely hold up to his end of the deal after the deal was informally made that him and I had. And so we are refusing to deal with this guy because there's a $6,500 lien on this piece of property. Okay. There's no difference for having a $6,500 lien on that piece of property down there and us not forgiving that. That's an expense that we have against that piece of property, and us saying it's okay to sell a piece of property up here we got $8,000 against for $1,000. I don't understand. If we're gonna do it, we need to do it for all the property. I don't want to forgive the lien down there. I just absolutely do not. I know it belongs to someone else, but it's still an expense that we had against that piece of property. And if we go down there and forgive the lien and let him build a house there, it's going to be utilities. But we're not doing it there, but we're willing to forgive an $8,000 expense up here on Holly Street.
I see where you're coming from, but I mean, do we want to continue that stance? I'm just asking that question because that $6,500 next year we've incurred how much more expense by mowing that lot and everything else?
That it belongs to someone else. The $6,500, they actually own the lot. Someone else does it. We just have a lien against it.
Okay.
But what it's still a forgiving. It would be the $8,000 is forgiving an expense we have towards that lot. And this over here on Boundary, which is owned by someone else, but now we're not going to forgive that one.
Well, why don't we do a little survey on what we have, like we said here, and at least bring some kind of plan to the council and see what the council thinks. Does that make sense?
Sounds great. But that,
I was
that
going to
one-
ask.
that $6,500 lot down there, I want all the council members to know that Bryce has been involved talking to the guy. I've talked to the guy. Larry's talked to the guy. And all three of us have a different deal with the guy. And then he doesn't want to come through with any of them.
I was going
Go
to
ahead,
ask
Kurt.
if these lots even appraised for 6,500 and 8,000, and I mean,
I doubt they do. I doubt it, Curtis.
so why would we charge more than they're worth? I guess
Because we have an expense. We have an expense of tearing down a building. It costs us $6,500 to tear that house down on Boundary. It costs $8,100 or something to tear the house down up on Holly Street. And I'm not sure about the Delaware house. That's the reason we're talking about these dollars. It's expenses that we have incurred towards those lots.
I
You know
agree.
that-
But
the
at the
lady-
same
the-
time, it'd be nice to have a brand new house sitting there instead of an empty lot that we're mowing.
We probably ought to get our CFO involved in this.
I think our bigger problem on that is nobody wants to pay more than what something's worth to purchase something.
I agree, Curtis, 100%. So that's,
Meredith, do you have any input?
Yeah, so I'm listening to this, just doing some quick math. We probably we've got a 40% margin on utilities. It's a little bit higher on electric, but that's usually what we try to go with. So with an average bill, we're probably clearing maybe $1,000 a year as net profit. So 8 years to pick up that $8,000 through utility services. But as Bryce said, lots of communities just try to get the property off the books so that we do not have to continue to maintain it. Again, it's council's choice. You can make an argument for continuing to incur or try to get the lot sold so that you can see some revenue recognition. You can make the argument that an asset to the city is this property and it can be developed through other means, whether, the mayor said something like a park or something valuable for the community. So there's both sides to the story.
I think if I could, I think the larger story is, what do we do with our residential parts of our community, which because of lack of, maintenance of property and putting in money, it's deteriorated to the, to the point or almost to the point that property, or those properties are in fact torn down. I mean, the city has a lot of expense in each lot. We have to pay for the street in front of it. We have to run the water, sewer, electric services by it. We have to keep up the alleys. I mean, there's a whole lot of work that we have in each one of those, and each one of those lots, if it would service a paying utility customer, becomes really the blood of this community. I mean, because we get sales tax and we get utility revenues. So, the question is really kind of a broader one. What is our plan? I've been here 34 years, and the property has gone down, has been depreciated in many areas. What some folks do is they create urban renewal authorities. That's what happened at Bricktown. They create urban renewal authorities and they go in and they take out large parts of property in certain areas, and they make those properties fit for some form of residential development again. Because, I would say to fit out a lot, to put those dollars in, it's certainly 10, 15 to $20,000 to recreate that. And so there is value in that. It just needs to be done as a scheme and per an area, and it needs to take some public improvement in it, or we can neglect some of these areas and we can continue to expand out towards our exterior boundary, or those places in the community where there are wheat fields and haven't been developed yet. But this is a whole kind of strategy that perhaps the town should, the community should start thinking about, what are we going to be doing? Back when we did that, the casino out on the curve, we got a detailed report from Chris Henderson, who was the longtime planner for Stillwater, Enid, and now he's up in Ponca City. And he says, the natural place for deteriorated residential, particularly on arterials, is commercial development. That people don't, without public investment, people won't go back into those areas and put back housing once that housing is completely depreciated. So the question is, what should we do here, and how could we do it, and what would that plan look like? Larry, do you agree?
Yes, I do. And Brian Henry and I have talked about urban renewal areas and taking particular parts of town and doing exactly what you've mentioned. However, in these two pieces of property, that's not the kind of community that these two pieces of property are in.
Right.
I think we have more than these two, though, right? And I kind of like Curtis's line of questioning there, and maybe we do go back and say these property values are worth this. Try and get the money. It may not be the whole 8,000, and then have a new property there that has a house on it. It's raising home value around that house, and we're getting a paying customer at the same time.
Brian Henry, do you remember when East Boundary was burned down?
That would have been about 3 years ago, approximately.
3 years ago. Okay. Thank you.
Larry, while I've got the talking stick, and I might take a thumping here, so I apologize ahead of time. Oh,
go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Another thing that I had thrown out that some states are beginning to go to, especially for like these infill lots, if there's a residence, on either perimeter side of it, what some municipalities have done is began to, like the ones that they can't sell, can't unload, basically at the beginning of the mowing season, sending out notice to the neighbors on any side, basically stating that if you will mow, maintain, take care of this fully without us having to send you notification one time for this entire grow season, at the end of the 6 months or 7 months, whatever season you decide to do that, the city will deed this property over to you at the end of that season. So, I'm just throwing that out as an idea, but
I do like that idea in certain areas of town. It's with certain lots. I do not like that with 730 Holly. So let's take 730 Holly and 1120 Delaware. They're two totally different approaches to getting something there. I do agree with it, and I've done that in other municipalities, but not at 730 Holly.
Why are you against it there?
It's a corner lot. It's if there's a lot in between two houses, I'm okay with that. But not at this particular one.
Thing.
Yes, sir.
Now, I would also say, though, that Delaware, on the 1000 block of Delaware, there's two lots there that houses got tore down, and I'm not saying the city was involved in it at all, but, now you have an empty lot and a lot with a metal building on it that's just a storage building, and that's not helping the property value of anybody around that.
The caution that I want to make towards the city is, there's parts of our city that are getting older. We all know that. I mean, it happens in all cities, and we find structures that are dilapidated and ran down, and there's not any immediate heirs to it, and someone out of town might own it, and I don't want to get into the real estate business and being the out for everybody just to come and say, hey, let's just donate this to the city and let it be their problem, because that can multiply quickly, and we have 5 or 6 or 10 houses to tear down. And if they're somewhat like this 730 Holly, $8,000 in it, I mean, we could get, a lot of money tied up really quick and have a bunch of lots that we can't get rid of. So, in the beginning, I was kind of in favor of, well, let's take the lot and at least we'll own it. We can do something with it. But now that we can't do anything with it, it kind of cautions me whether that would be the proper approach or not. If we have a lien against that piece of property and it goes to a tax sale, we're probably going to get our lien covered. Is that correct, Bryce?
No, I mean, it'll be whatever it sells for. I mean, if it sells just to clear the county taxes, of course, we need to be there and we need to bid in our lien. Let's say the county taxes are $1,000 and we think this lot has some value. We need to bid in our lien plus, pay $1,000 and acquire the lot.
So they can't, they don't require the liens to be covered on that piece of property.
No.
So if I buy that piece of property for $1,000,
yep,
do I still owe the city $6,500 or am I clean?
It all depends how they do it with either a sheriff's deed, or treasurer's deed. I mean, normally they try to get the money for you, but if the money's not there, it's not like they're not going to sell it. They're going to sell it for their taxes. I guess your question is does the lien continue? Brian, Henry, what have you seen? Is Brian gone?
No, he says he's still here. He may be chasing this. Go ahead.
I mean, it's supposed to take out the, I mean, if it's sold at a treasurer's, you get good title. I mean, you get a deed. I don't think our lien survives. Although I've never been there at the courthouse, when one has sold.
Brian, are you live now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, did you hear what Bryce was asking you?
No, I did not. Go ahead, ask me again.
Yeah, just if there's a treasurer's sale on either dilapidated house or high weeds and trash, they have $1,000 in county tax. They owe us $8,000. The bidders there bid, they only get $1,000. I mean, our lien goes goodbye, and the county gets paid. Correct?
No, so they have a bottom number that they start at, and oh man, this is like rocket science. It's either 2/3 the assessed value, so part of that would be our liens, or there's another number that they roll in there, but we will almost always recover a portion of it, but we will almost never recover 100%.
Okay. So they have a price at which they'll sell it, and it's some percentage of the appraised value.
Correct.
Or otherwise it won't sell.
Correct.
Okay.
And then it'll go to the counties. Basically, they'll have it, and then they'll post it for sale.
And then is the lien wiped out?
Yeah.
Once they sell it, then the lien will be extinguished once the new owner buys it, but they will always remit payment to the city for that portion of whatever we've gained at that time. Well, actually, no, if the county takes ownership, then yes, our lien is extinguished at that time.
So you don't always get your money.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. If it doesn't sell in the county tax sale in that first go round, then no, you are correct.
Interesting. All right. Well, I just think we need to do some very, very serious thinking about this. Derek, you brought up a fact a while ago about a metal storage building somewhere that doesn't bring up property value. I have several friends that have shop buildings throughout the town that they utilize. And in some neighborhoods, I'm not totally against, I know it's against our code, but I would like for us to review that. If you have a lot that is just grown up 6 foot high in weeds, nobody mows it. Brian's down there all the time trying to figure out who owns it, who's going to mow it, who's going to maintain it. You sell it to me and let me go put a $50,000 shop building on there. I promise it's going to be maintained.
Yeah, no, I wasn't knocking
neighborhoods.
Shop buildings at all. What I was knocking is there's 2 lots there, and there wasn't also a residence tied in with that. You know, it's just the building. And
yeah, well, I mean, if we could start getting some of these vacant lots sold off to people that would, want to put up a shop building. I have a friend of mine that wants to put up a shop building, but there's a house between him and the next piece of property that he wants to purchase, and that piece of property is a train wreck. But he can't do it because it doesn't adjoin his property. And I think that on maybe a use by review or something, we can take a look at that and start allowing that in some places.
well, it does happen because this building was built and there's no adjoining residence, so obviously it can happen.
Well, I think sometimes there are residents and the residents are tore down and the building is left, or it does come a time that I know of one down the street down here. They got snuck in somehow and they put it up and there's nothing else there. That may be the one you're talking about, Derek, but
The one on the 1000 block of Delaware, I know the exact scenario that happened there, and it never, after the houses were tore down, there was never a residence in mind there. It was just allowed to be put up a metal building.
yeah. All right. Well, we've had some great discussion. Larry and Bryce, will you guys put your heads together and try to figure out a couple different scenarios that we could take a look at?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. I appreciate that very much. Counselor, is there any more questions on item number 10? It's been a great discussion, I believe. All right. Thank you. We're going to move to item number 11. Consider approval of a school resource officer agreement. Larry, has this agreement been signed or approved by the school board or Dr. McCarty or anybody?
They have not had the opportunity to look at it. As far as the board is concerned, Dr. McCarty has seen it, but they haven't had the opportunity to opine on that.
Okay. I would like to ask for us to hold this over until the school board approves it, or whoever the authority is, which I believe is the school board. And the other thing that I would like to see come before us, I want to give us a little bit of history real quick. The agreement on the baseball field. We've done some research on our baseball field, the high school baseball field out here. And through talking to Larry and Bryce and I got Chuck Hall involved, the Hall family owned that piece of property. And I called Chuck on Friday. We all thought the city of Perry owned it. And Chuck said, well, you don't own it. The school owns it. We deeded it to the school. Let me pull my files and I'll see. Well, it's amazing what a little age will do to you. The city does own that. And they did deed it over to the city. And Bryce told me today he gave an opinion on that piece of property back then. And he remembered from the get-go that the city owned it. And but the history behind this is in 1990, I believe, is when it was deeded over to the city of Perry. There was an agreement with the school system to 2001. At 2001, the lease agreement expired with the high school, or the Perry Public Schools, I should say. And it just rode on forever. 2013, Chuck Hall is the mayor. He tries to get an agreement with the school to no avail. 2015, Mary Rupp, as a city manager, tried to get an agreement with the school system to no avail. They wouldn't talk to either one of them about it. The last year, maybe year and a half, Larry and I have been in discussion with the school we want to sign a lease on that piece of property up there, or we want to give the piece of property to them. We are at this time paying utility bills which are pretty high, and we would like to get an agreement with the school system. They won't talk to us about it. So for 19 years now, there's been no, or almost 20 probably, there's been no lease agreement on that field. The school system will not have a discussion with us about it. So I would like to see, Bryce and Larry, I would like to see when this resource officer agreement comes back, that we come back with some kind of agreement that we could present to the school, or maybe an agreement that we have presented to the school on that baseball field.
Okay, Dr. McCarty and I met last Thursday or Friday, and this was one of the topics of discussion. We meet on a regular basis, maybe every quarter, just to see what's going on and make certain that we're good partners with each other. And I know that some of you may remember that Dr. McCarty and I started working in Perry the exact same day in 2017. And one of the things that we've talked about is open items that have not been resolved over the years. And I know that Dr. McCarty would like to see this resolved, as would we. So that's one of the things we'll be talking about here shortly. So,
well, if you guys meet quarterly and you just met this last week, we don't want to go a whole nother quarter before we have this discussion.
No, yes, sir. Point taken.
And there are some issues with utilities at the field now that need to be addressed immediately. And I feel like that somehow, I'm not faulting anyone, that we got into an agreement that we will pay the utilities on that field while they're the ones that are using it. And I believe that at some point there should be some cost sharing or something, because they're getting that field for nothing. And we're paying all the utilities. So I would like to see some kind of agreement. Can I get a motion?
I would just note, Bill, that it is important when another entity has the use of a property, even if it's a public school, it's important for us to have an agreement with that entity so that we can apportion the liability, and so that the contractual part of our insurance policy can kick in. It's just, we can insure against fire and casualty and general liability, but when you have someone else there, you need to have a written agreement with them under the terms of our policy. It's very important, and I have brought this up a number of times.
Thank you, Bryce, for saying that.
Are we saying that we're going to leverage the school resource officer against that, or what are we?
No, I don't believe that, Derek, at all. I'm just encouraging that when the city or when the school sends us back this agreement, I want us to have something put in front of us also that we're going to present to the school or something. When they bring this back to us, I'm encouraging Bryce and Larry to get to work on that too.
Yeah, I don't think the mayor's talking about leveraging, the children's safety based on a baseball lease.
Not at all. I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
I just want to encourage. We got an agreement here, and it's with the school system. I just wanted to bring up another agreement that I believe is very vital that we haven't had in many, many years.
Yeah, that's something that since I've been on council, we've been talking about and haven't come to a resolution.
Yeah. All right. Can I get a motion to table this until the school board approves?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Coldarn,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry. Item number 12, consider approval of payment of $1,435.60 to the County Group Engineering LLC for engineering services for the water treatment plant pre-construction meeting and related work, $11,080.30 for dam surveying and legal description preparation. Bryce, you might speak briefly about the surveying on the dam, what that was.
Yeah, we're just getting legal descriptions for the dam. I think we've discussed that in executive session about acquiring that property for the dam project, and in order to get those legal descriptions, we've had that Cowan Engineering assist. I'll tell you, they have a really apt and smart surveyor who not only I assume will continue to use in Perry, but I'm going to use this guy everywhere. He's a really bright guy. The other part of the bill is to assist us with one of those water treatment plant projects that we have. We want to make sure that although it wasn't engineered by an engineer, we make sure that it gets implemented correctly.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions on 12?
Make a motion to approve the invoice to be paid.
Second, Coldarn.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 13, consider approval of application for payment request number 2 by CP Integrated Services Incorporated in the amount of $71,298.26 for the Camp Tendaco Trail Project. We need to pay our bills.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Coldarn.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item 14, consider approval of ordinance number 2020-22 of the City Council of the City of Perry of Oklahoma, amending Chapter 17 of the Perry Municipal Code 2020 by the addition of a new section 17-310, providing that industrial, commercial, and or certain residential customers to pay an upfront estimated cost of establishing, altering, or adding electrical services. Exceptions, providing for appeal or savings, codification, severability, and declaring emergency. We do have our electric superintendent with us tonight. He might possibly be able to answer this question. But I know that there are some costs that the city incurs when we're buying new transformers and things, and I'll let him speak to that. Mr. Bryan?
Yeah, what we're kind of looking at is I've got a couple scenarios that I'll lay out for you to show you the difference between, let's say, like the Sonic that's coming in, a new Sonic, and it's about the same size as like our Dollar General when they come in. The cost we incur just for transformers and wire, and we don't go, finite like some places, and we'd say, hey, every connector you're going to pay for, because I feel like some of them kind of consumables that we use every day. Like for Sonic, we're in it anywhere between $6,000 and $8,000 when they move in, which we know we're going to get revenue off of that, but that's usually the cost that we pick up, and we've always traditionally just drove on with that and never gave it a second thought. But then you run into like we've dealt with the Green Farms Co. Out with the CBD extraction plant. Or a good example would be the new junior high school. The junior high school right now, we're pushing about $40,000 to supply them power. So that's kind of what we're looking at. What we're looking at doing is just trying to recoup some of that money that we're just out. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And I think if you read through this a little bit, we do have some things. Most of this is commercial and residential is out, but there is some caveats to the residential where we're looking at maybe like a a bigger service, which 99.9% of you guys probably have a 200 amp service on your house. And some people come in and they say, hey, we want 400 amps. Well, that basically doubles our cost. And it also doubles their cost. Most people do it at the, against the advice of their electrician. They think they may need it and they don't, but it just doubles us what we normally have to do. So, any questions on that?
Brian, a question that just come to my mind is, we got some residential development coming into town. I don't know the first thing about the way you design your electrical areas for these housing developments, but if you have a development come in and put 25 houses in a spot, I mean, you got a lot more electrical power, I guess, or transformers and things that have to come into that area, correct?
That's definitely correct, and that's something Bryce and I've discussed a little bit, and he can probably touch on a little bit better. I'll be honest. This is a housing development. It's been a long time since we've done anything like that, and it definitely hadn't been under my watch. And I'll be honest, I don't know how we handled it the first time, or the first several times. So I can't really speak about what we're going to do. And I think a lot of more research is going to be involved on what maybe other sister cities or other municipalities do.
Bill, I mean, with a residential subdivision, normally it's the developer's cost to put in the roads, to put in the sewer, to put in the water, to put in, or at least make, if they want it to be underground, there's a little cost share involved. But, to the extent the city wanted, they could even be responsible for paying the cost of that electric coming in. But that, of course, if somebody wanted to do that, that would be subject to probably to an economic development agreement. And I provided an economic development agreement exception to this ordinance. So at times when we'd want to accept this, we would bring that to you, or if if a request was made to accept this upfront payment of the cost, then we would bring that to you. But I mean, the city has borne over 10, 20 years hundreds of thousands of dollars of these costs. And like we were talking before, payback can take a long time, even at the levels that Meredith was talking. We were talking about $8,000. I forget what she said, 8 years or something to recover that. So, if you had an $8,000 expenditure, if it's just utilities, it would take a long time before you would get that first dollar back. The public approved a $25 million bond for these schools. I'm not saying that they shouldn't pay their way, but we never get flowers at City Hall thanking us for a $40,000 outfront expenditure, and that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money for the city to agree to pay on top of all the residents and all the businesses in town paying all the costs for the schools. So, there may be a different opinion with respect to that. People that are doing projects work the costs into their numbers. And if they don't have to pay this cost, then they can enhance something else. And if someone is silly enough not to want the upfront cost, well, that's just perfect with the utility customer. They're very happy about that because they can either retain that money or they can use that for another purpose. I guess what we're saying, and this was really me. I thought that we ought to do this because we have a series of these that come up, and we seem to treat them sometimes differently. And, I think we ought to have a policy. And then if there is an exception to that, we'll bring that exception to you. But the policy is that we charge that upfront cost, because with our particular budget, the way it is, if we get hit several more times, I mean, it definitely drains the money. But it's your money, and it's your community, and the council may think this is silly because we have paid those upfront costs in the past, and only recently have started to say, that maybe we shouldn't be so giving on the front end, particularly given our financial system, which isn't dire, but we need to watch our dollars. So I would open that up to the council, because you may have a different opinion, but at least the administration, Brian, Larry, Dixie, and I thought this was worthy of your attention.
Bryce, if I may jump in real quick, what we've had, and it's just like you said earlier, you mentioned, recently is when we started looking at this and saying, hey, this is something maybe we need to look at. But what I've had with the last few individuals that we've kind of talked about receiving payment has basically been a handshake deal. There's no teeth to that. There's no teeth to me saying, hey, this is what it's going to cost you to do that. That's a lot of what we're trying to do with this, council, is actually give us some teeth without just me making a deal with a contractor and expecting them to hold that end of the bargain up. Not saying that they haven't. It's just, we have no teeth to that.
Yeah, I agree. This gives you a policy, and I completely understand there. As long as we keep in mind, let's say we have a big business coming in that draws in a whole bunch of sales tax plus the electricity, that economic development is something we might want to work with, and use that as a driver to another way to negotiate with them. But I do think that Brian having a policy there and a leg to stand on is a good thing. The residential one I'm a little swaying on, but I do understand where we're coming from there, and I do think that at least giving us a way to have these conversations, and we've got it written down, provides us an option.
Mayor, if I may, not in Perry, but in other municipalities with residential development, what I have done is to offer certain incentives of different variants, maybe tap fees, it may be a little bit here and there, put in a driveway or something like that. Up front for them, they pay it up front. When they get a certificate of occupancy, then it gets remitted back to them. So in other words, we'll help you, but you put up, you produce what you say you're going to produce, and then we'll carry through on our end of the bargain. They're different for each development, whether it be commercial or residential, but it does give us the opportunity to negotiate with the developer, whether retail or commercial or industrial, and get something that's good for Perry, and yet doesn't really, and yet it does help us show that we want to be good partners with and bring in that development.
But Larry, you couldn't have these negotiations the way you're talking about without the policy, right?
Correct. We do need to have some guidance, so that basically it's a box. We can go up to this way, and we know that that's workable, and that when we're talking to somebody, we have that authority, so to speak, or we're working within the box, if you will. And it's just a lot cleaner for us when we're out trying to get something coming in for Perry.
Yeah, I believe that it's kind of difficult to give parameters to a situation that there are no parameters. So I think this is a great start, and I can see us coming back and tweaking this a little bit here and there, but we got to get some kind of avenue for negotiation started.
Yeah, the main thing is when we do this, we keep in mind economic development is a high priority.
Yes, sir.
All right, council, item number 14.
I think it's been a great discussion. I'll make the motion to approve ordinance number 2020-22.
Second, Marshall.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kildern,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Motion on the emergency, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kildern,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
Bill, one
Yes.
second. Bryce, I believe we have to have 7 to pass an emergency. We only have 6.
Okay, then the emergency doesn't pass, and this, unless we bring it back on the next agenda, which we could do.
Yeah, let's try that.
Motion to table to next agenda on the emergency.
Right.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kildern,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 15, discuss final inspection report for the pedestrian improvements on Highway 60 or US 64 and North 14th and 15th Streets. This is the inspection report. It's in your packet for the new sidewalk project. And they did an inspection this last week or so. There's some areas on the sidewalk that they're going to do some changes to, and some handicap situations, I believe. But the report is there. The problem I have with the report, and it says in the report that David Payne was our representative on this project. I don't quite understand that, but it is what it is. Nowhere in this entire report does it say, hey, we got 15 lights out there that don't work. Someone needs to explain that one to me.
Ryan Wheatley, can you give us some background on that?
Well, I can give you a little background on the project itself. As for David Payne representing it, I'm not really for sure what the story was there. I was not aware when the final inspection meeting was taking place. We have been in contact with ODOT after the project, during the project, and we've had a little issue with the communication while the project was going. ODOT was aware of that, but we do have the south side of West Fur basically dark at this point, and most of it's due to just the wires being cut while they were installing the sidewalk. Some of this was due to the fact that they dug down, let's say 14 foot, and that definitely, we can't keep anything in there, when they do that. What had happened on the eastern side of Fur was very good communication. We knew that the sidewalks got to come through, and they may hit our wires. But as it worked its way out west, some of that got done in the beginning of the project. Some of it got done in the latter part of the project. But it was basically no calls. They tore something out and never let us know. Well, before we know it, they've got sidewalk back. Now, I will say I haven't dug in real deep yet on the numbers or what this is going to cost for us to put back in. There's some of the main concern with me is not necessarily the lights that are out, because that kind of stuff can be fixed by us in house. If anybody's been at 15th and Fur, we understand that traffic light is it's horrendous. They've cut some loops in that when they did some demo, and talking to, no disrespect to the ODOT people, it's just hard to get an understanding on whose project this was. They're running it, and then they say, well, it's a city project. We don't have any backing to put things back. So we're currently kind of right in the middle of looking things up and seeing what all actually is damaged. But we do know there's quite a bit of damage there. Money wise, we're not really for sure yet what we got going.
What, Larry, maybe you can speak to it. What was the idea of sending David Payne out there versus notifying, say, our street crew, or our street superintendent, and Brian Wheatley, our electric superintendent, and getting those guys out there to look at the scenario that pertains to their portion of the job, that some of this could have been brought up?
Streets had been out there before. David Payne had been part of this project since way before I got here. This project was going before I got here. He was very familiar with that. He'd already gone out and looked at some things. ODOT called the meeting, not inviting Brian Wheatley was a slip on my part. Bryce, you and I were talking the other day about what the contract said is who was responsible for certain things in the project.
Yeah, I was, and I have been part of the conversation with the ODOT engineer and telling them of our unhappiness. You know, in looking at these types of contracts, the state requires the owner to ensure that all the utilities are moved. I mean, they call Okie. But if you've got a utility there, you need to flag it and or move it. That's going to be their argument. Our argument is going to be, you came in, you were supposed to call us and you just tore the lights out. If we have a claim, we can make it as against the insurance policy that the contractor had. I think the important thing is that we get these lights back on and that we figure out what those costs are, and that I submit that to the insurance company of the contractor, alleging that, you destroyed our wires, this is what it costs, and let them make any defense that they want to make. And Brian and I have discussed that, and we've also discussed that with the ODOT engineer. I was hoping that Jay would tell the other engineer, who I think was in charge of this project, of our problem with the lights, but that may not have happened. But I'm not blaming ODOT for this at all. But that's what we need to do. We need to get the lights back on. If there's a traffic loop, we need to fix that. Then we need to make a claim back against the contract, because it's a damage. I can't tell you legally whether legally the state could have required them to fix or reimburse us for those utilities in the right of way, which weren't moved or flagged. I mean, I don't think they were flagged, because I don't think we know where those lines are. Brian, correct me if I'm not. I mean, we didn't flag those lines out to our light poles, did we?
We originally, during the beginning of the project, we flagged it and kind of discovered that it was all going to get ripped out, no matter what, whether it was there, whether it wasn't. And that was a discussion we had with the contractor. And back again, it's a handshake deal. When you guys do hit something, let us know. We'll be more than happy, before you pour concrete, to get it all fixed and get it all ready. And some of the project went that way, and some of it didn't. So probably my main concern is, we had to remove 3, possibly 4 lights for them, just to be able to do the project. And there was no talk about if we had to remove them for anybody to put them back. So, I mean, it just kind of fell back on us. Now, when it comes to money, I don't know. We'll have to dig a little deeper the end of this week to see, what we may be out, and maybe the damage is not as bad as what we think. That's kind of where we're at.
Sounds like go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Brian, with all due respect, I know you guys are really busy with all kinds of projects right now. And I know we don't have a whole lot of money to hire somebody to come do this, but my concern is that needs to be put back in. We got a really nice sidewalk. Granted, it's going into the winter time now, fall and winter, and people probably aren't going to be out there walking. But I see people walking out there, and then when in the summertime, when it was warm, if we had that lit, I mean, that's the whole purpose of the sidewalk, not to walk down through the dark woods, I want that thing lit, and for traffic safety also. It's really dark out there. And I don't know that our crew has time to fix that.
Right. Bill, you're right. What we're looking at right now, and we've just kind of it's been kind of a bone of contention on, can we get these things temporaried in for now, get the lights on, and then look at, in the long term doing it underground. So we're looking at some options. I really think that we can get probably the south side going.
Can we buy you some extension cords?
Basically, Bill's you're gonna supply them, I believe. But
Yeah.
no, I think we can probably get them going with some temporary overhead wiring, at least the majority of them, from, let's say, Ditch Witch West, which is one of the biggest problems. We're missing a few poles from Ditch Witch going east that we'll have to reset before we can light that all the way up. But I think we can get the west end tipped in and going pretty good.
Didn't you tell me at one time they knocked a pole or two down, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, they actually knocked one down, and then we had to remove two, maybe three, so they could actually install the sidewalk, which it's kind of a strange scenario, but yeah.
I think and this is not directed towards any entity or anybody on this meeting, but going forward, we probably need to stay away from the handshakes and things like that, and make those clear in our contracts as we move forward.
All right, I agree 100%, Derek. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, the problem here is they're not our contracts. This is a weird breed, and that's what we're saying. The state bid it. It was state contractors. It was state inspectors to the extent that there was. Our part was, when we got called and paying our 20%. Brian, is that not correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, legally that's correct. But, this wasn't our contract. It's kind of a hybrid case. This rarely happens, but it did happen this time. And I'm taking your criticism seriously, and we should. This should be better coordinated. You guys pay a lot for your government.
I wasn't criticizing anybody.
Yeah, I know. But
I'm appreciative. I mean, we got this great grant. We got, we were able to do this. We wouldn't have been able to do it on our own. A lot of great things came out of it, but we also have some expense that we didn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I spoke with Ted Zachary with ODOT about phase 3. Phase 3 is supposed to go from Brahms over to BMAC. And I asked him to try his best to find out where that was right now. So let's assuming that the feds give some money and that trickles down to the state trickles down to us. There will be hopefully a third opportunity in phase 3 to really do this and do this right. Better than we have in the past. I think it's, I think the sidewalk's awesome. I really do. I do see, like you said, Bill, I do see a lot of people out there using it, and it's always nice to see people using it with the, from the project that we have done. It's very gratifying. So we do have another, hopefully we'll have another opportunity.
I know that Bryce has another municipality doing this right now. I hope you take the knowledge you learned here up to there.
Yeah, I have several.
Okay, council. I think this was just to receive the report. I'm not sure that it requires any type of action. Is there any more questions? I think the council has, or our council, as in Mr. Kennedy, has understands what's going on. Item 16, discuss COVID-19 pandemic. Bryce, how many more meetings? Is it 2 meetings?
Yeah,
This?
2 more meetings unless the governor, which could happen, agrees to extend it. There's talk that this, Zooming meetings is great for public officials, and if it, quite frankly, works for the public, it's not a bad way to do business. We have been speaking to Senator Hall about this. I have conveyed your thoughts that, I'm sure none of you would have a problem extending this a little while. Heck, the president and the first lady came down with it. So, we're not out of, the loop yet. There's still issues. There's big issues right now in Woods County and in some of the cities there. So we'll see what the governor does. If not, there may be some legislative move. But to answer your question, Bill, we have 2 more meetings under the current thing. That's the meeting in October and the first meeting in November, unless the governor does something else.
And Bryce, if I may, I believe that in that conversation that we had with Senator Hall, he did mention that this was coming up on the legislative agenda for next year, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
To make this a permanent deal.
And if any of the members, I take it from what I see that the members of this body would be in favor of being able to social distance during times of pandemics and until they're resolved. That's what I get from you. So that is what I am advancing.
If it weren't for these Zoom meetings, I actually wouldn't have been able to attend tonight. I'm on quarantine right now. So that's an example of, how this can be useful.
Any other discussion?
Thank you, Bryce.
I just want to say to the council, I personally, and it's just me personally, nothing to do with anyone else in the council, I prefer us to meet in person. This has been great, and I'll tell you why I feel like that we should be obligated to meet in person. At some point, the city council is going to ask Larry, how come the city hall is not open? How come you're not letting people come in here and do business? And it's very difficult for me to say, Larry, open that door out there and let these customers come in here with these ladies and these gentlemen and to conduct normal business. But the 9 of us and a few other members, and we can't sit around a table together and have a discussion. That's just me personally.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that input.
At the same time, we were working on making that safer for those employees to be able to conduct that business. We have that plan in place that we're trying to figure out.
But that could be quite a while down the road before we get that done.
Agreed.
I did speak to the architect today, and he's on it.
And on top of, I feel like we've had a lot more participation on these meetings than we've had with us face to face.
I agree.
All right, item numbers, are we done? I'm sorry. Item 16, any more discussion? We will go to item 17, any new business that needs to come before the council this evening. Hearing none. Number 18, adjournment, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Marshall.
Roll call, please.
Codone,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.